Walt Greer heard the engine roar before he even turned his head around. His own tractor was barreling straight toward him across the cracked dirt field. Dust kicked up violently behind the wheels, choking the warm afternoon summer air. He stumbled backward, his boots catching on a loose patch of gravel. Marjorie Hutchins sat behind the wheel, her knuckles white with cold determination. Her eyes locked onto Walt with an expression devoid of any human mercy. Walt's heart slammed against his ribs as the machine closed the distance fast. He dove sideways into the ditch, scraping his arm against jagged broken rock. The tractor roared past him, missing his body by mere terrifying inches. Marjorie slammed the brakes, sending a cloud of dust into the blinding sky. Walt lay there gasping, disbelief flooding through every aching muscle in his body. This was the same HOA president who had hounded him for 8 months straight. She had fined him for an unmowed lawn during a brutal summer drought. She had cited him for a fence that violated some obscure height regulation. She had even reported his veteran flagpole as an unauthorized neighborhood eyesore violation. Walt was a third-generation farmer who refused to bow to her demands. His land predated the HOA by nearly 40 years of quiet rural living. Yet Marjorie treated him like an unwelcome stain on her pristine community vision. She wanted his property rezoned, his barn demolished, his fields turned to lawns. Walt had fought back through letters, meetings, correspondence attempts. Nothing had worked. Grew sharper with each passing month. Dale Owens came running from his porch, his face pale with stunned horror. Walt. She tried to run you over, Dale shouted desperately. Walt pushed himself up, blood trickling slowly down his scraped and trembling forearm. Marjorie climbed down from the tractor, brushing dust off her tailored linen blazer. It was an accident, she said coolly, her voice eerily calm and detached. The brakes must have slipped while I was simply inspecting the property line. Walt stared at her, fury rising hot beneath his shock and disbelief. You stole my tractor from my own barn this morning, he said firmly. Marjorie's lips curled into a thin, dismissive smile that chilled his bones instantly. I had every right to inspect equipment left improperly on community-adjacent land. Priya Banerjee stood frozen near the property's wooden fence. She had been recording violation footage when the tractor suddenly lurched toward Walt. Her phone was still in her hand, screen glowing with captured video evidence. She glanced down, realizing she had unintentionally filmed the entire terrifying incident clearly. Her stomach twisted with guilt for ever working under Marjorie's controlling, ruthless leadership. Dale knelt beside Walt, helping him steady his shaking legs and bruised body. This isn't over, Walt muttered, anger replacing the fear pulsing through his chest. Marjorie turned away, waving dismissively as if nothing serious had just occurred. File whatever complaint you want, Mr. No one will believe a farmer. Her words cut deep, but they also lit a fire inside Walt's resolve. He had survived 2 deployments overseas defending freedom for people just like her. He would not be silenced or threatened on the very land his family built. Priya quietly slipped her phone into her pocket, deciding she would not delete it. Something inside her shifted. A quiet rebellion against the woman she once respected. The sun beat down mercilessly as silence settled over the dust-covered field. Walt looked at his battered tractor, now a symbol of stolen power and abuse. He clenched his fists, vowing this fight was only just now beginning. That night, ice pressed against his bruised arm. His wife Carol paced the room, fear and anger battling across her tired face. She could have killed you, Walt. Time. Walt nodded slowly, staring at the violation notices spread across the wooden table. Each notice represented months of harassment disguised as community rule enforcement efforts. He thought about his late father, who built this farm with calloused bare hands. He would not let Marjorie Hutchins erase that legacy with petty cruel intimidation. The next morning, holding his own phone tightly, "I talked to Priya last night. She has footage of everything," Dale said urgently. Walt's eyes widened, a flicker of hope cutting through his exhausted frustration finally. Priya arrived an hour later, nervous but resolute, her phone clutched protectively close. "I recorded the whole thing. I should have come forward sooner," she admitted quietly. She played the video, showing the tractor accelerating directly toward Walt's unsuspecting body. Carol gasped, which confirmed their worst fears. "This is attempted murder, Walt." Now. Walt nodded. It was burning steadily inside his chest. They drove to the local sheriff's station, footage in hand, hearts pounding with adrenaline. Sheriff Daniels reviewed the video twice, his expression hardening with every passing second. "This is serious evidence. We'll open an investigation immediately," the sheriff said gravely. Word spread quickly through the small town, neighbors whispering about Marjorie's reckless actions. Some HOA members defended her instinctively, fearing the loss of her commanding influence. Others finally found courage to share their own buried complaints openly. Letters poured into the sheriff's office detailing years of unfair targeting and intimidation. A disabled veteran named Roger Pell described losing his ramp permit unjustly last spring. An immigrant family, the Reyes household, recounted constant fines for cultural yard decorations. Marjorie's pattern of selective enforcement became impossible for anyone to honestly ignore now. Meanwhile, attempting to discredit Walt through vicious neighborhood gossip campaigns. She claimed he fabricated the incident to escape his own numerous outstanding violations. But the video evidence remained undeniable, circulating quickly through community group chats everywhere. Priya submitted a formal statement supporting Walt's serious legal complaint. "I won't protect her lies anymore. People deserve to know the truth," she said. Walt hired a lawyer, Sandra Kim, known for handling difficult civil rights cases. Sandra reviewed everything, her expression sharpening with quiet, fierce professional determination instantly. "We're filing for attempted assault. Harassment. Authority," she announced firmly. Marjorie received the legal notice 3 days later, her composure finally beginning to crack. She stormed into an emergency board meeting, demanding immediate unwavering support from members. But several board members, including Priya, refused to back her reckless, dangerous actions anymore. "You almost killed a man, Marjorie," Priya said. The meeting dissolved into chaos. accusations flying as years of resentment surfaced violently. Walt watched from outside. Carol's hand steady and warm within his trembling grip. He felt something shifting. A long overdue reckoning finally arriving for their tormented community. The fight was no longer just about fences. Lawns. It was about dignity. Safety. Through years of quiet fear. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Walt's case finally reached its long-awaited trial. Sandra Kim presented the video evidence. Clear and damning before the silent courtroom. Marjorie sat rigid. Her lawyer whispering frantically as the footage played for everyone. Gasps rippled through the gallery as the tractor lurched dangerously close to Walt's body. Priya took the stand. Her voice steady despite years of suppressed nervous fear. She knew exactly what she was doing. I saw her face that day. Roger Pell testified next. Describing how Marjorie revoked his wheelchair ramp without proper justification. The Reyes family followed. Detailing relentless fines targeting their cultural holiday yard decorations unfairly. A clear emerged before the increasingly horrified jury members. Marjorie's lawyer attempted to argue mechanical failure. But evidence contradicted his desperate claims completely. Mechanics confirmed the tractor's brakes were functioning perfectly before the incident occurred suddenly. The prosecution argued Marjorie deliberately used HOA authority to intimidate and endanger Walt. After 3 tense days, the jury returned with their unanimous and decisive verdict. Guilty of attempted assault and reckless endangerment, the foreman announced clearly and firmly. The courtroom erupted as Walt exhaled. Years of tension finally releasing from his shoulders. Marjorie's face went pale. Her carefully constructed authority crumbling completely before everyone present. The judge sentenced her to probation, mandatory anger management, and permanent HOA board removal. She was also ordered to pay substantial damages for emotional distress and reckless endangerment. Outside the courthouse, neighbors gathered. Hugs. Dale clapped him on the back, grinning widely despite the exhausting months behind them. You did it. You actually beat her, Dale said, his voice full of pride. Priya approached quietly, her eyes glistening with relief and quiet earned redemption finally. Thank you for trusting me. Even after everything, she said, extending her hand warmly. Walt shook it firmly. Gratitude replacing the bitterness that once consumed his exhausted heart. Marjorie watched from a distance, utterly alone and humiliated. Her once loyal supporters avoided her gaze. Embarrassed by the woman they had defended, she climbed into her car alone, driving away from the community she once ruled. Word spread that she eventually moved out of state. Her reputation completely ruined forever. The HOA elected new leadership, including Priya, who promised fairness and genuine accountability moving forward. Roger received his ramp permit back within days, finally restoring his rightful home accessibility. The Reyes family proudly displayed their decorations without fear of unjust retaliation again. Walt returned to his fields, his tractor repaired, his land finally safe and protected. Carol stood beside him, watching the sunset paint the sky in warm golden colors. We did it, she whispered, resting her head gently against his strong shoulder. Walt smiled, lifting from his weary chest. He thought about his father, hoping he would be proud of this hard-fought victory. Justice had not come easily, but it had come fully and unmistakably deserved. Power abused eventually crumbles when ordinary people refuse to stay silent and afraid. Walt's story became a quiet reminder that courage can dismantle even entrenched corrupt authority. Standing up against injustice, no matter how small, can change an entire community forever.